Hello, and thank you for joining us here on the Neutral Zone. I am Phil Milani, joined as always by my trusty sidekick, my partner in crime. Really, the best way to describe this person is my everything. It's at Eric Dalala.
Phil, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great.
That's good. How's my hair?
Hair's looking good.
Your hair's looking nice too.
Lauren Landau did not cut our hair, right?
No.
Yeah.
No.
That's
definitely
good.
not.
Broncos strength coach Lauren Landau. Of course, we are talking about Justin Herbert's haircut that is taking over the internet.
Yeah.
He says the Chargers strength coach gave him that haircut.
I believe it based on seeing the haircut. And we'll dive into that. We'll give you the analysis you need, Phil, about haircuts.
Well, you know, with the state of things that is happening around the Broncos here, we thought maybe we should have a lighthearted, a fun podcast. So we're going to
fun.
Yeah, fun. Well, this one's particularly goofy, I think.
Good.
We'll dive in and rank some of the quarterbacks, the recent Broncos quarterbacks, how their haircut was.
Ooh, I
yeah,
like that.
Yeah. Then not sure if everybody saw this, but there were reports out of New York, out of the Giants facility, that their head coach and their offensive line coach got into a little bit of a rumble.
A tussle.
It was later disputed whether or not that actually happened, but it also got us thinking, Eric.
Yeah, debunked.
It was a little debunked, but we were wondering if there was a battle royale. Maybe all the coaches around the NFL, how would Vic fare and something like that? But also maybe among all the Broncos coaches, who would we want to submit? Who would we enter into a battle royale?
Yeah, there's some good options there, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Well, also, I guess if we have to, we'll talk Drew Lock, Brett Rippon, and preview this Dolphins game a little bit. Had the chance to catch up with Armandos Salguero of the Miami Herald. He's covered the Dolphins for a very long time, since I think 1982, Eric, is when he started covering sports down there in South Florida. He's a Hall of Fame voter. He's an AP All-Pro voter. And who better to talk to about the Dolphins than Armando? Had a really good conversation about how things are changing in Miami. You know, that's a football town. It's a historic franchise with a lot of great success. Things are starting to change a little bit. So had a chance to catch up with Armando. So that'll be our football portion of the podcast.
We got some emails, Phil, too. I think we could maybe reflect upon.
Yes.
Our podcast supervisor, I will say, didn't do a great job of getting all the emails from between the game and our taping on Monday to us in time to include them. He's being punished.
Yes.
Really. He's facing internal discipline. We're not going to reveal that on the podcast. But, there's more than enough emails to go over a little bit more.
Yeah, we got some emails, also got some voicemails. If you want to be a part of the Neutral Zone, there's many ways you can do that. The best way, I think, is to leave a voicemail, 707-NEUTRAL. Eric, you mentioned the emails too.
Yeah, neutralzoneshow@gmail.com. We got quite a few. It seems to be maybe the more popular approach, but don't be afraid to lend your voice to this podcast.
Exactly. You can also hit us up on Twitter at Eric Dalala with an A, at Phil Milani with a PH. Non-traditional spellings there, kind of strange, but you could do that. Or we're also on YouTube. If you're watching us here on YouTube, hello. Thank you for watching on YouTube. Leave a comment down below because we read them. Even the ones that blast us, we read them.
You print out the most negative ones and you pin them to your desk so that you can motivate yourself for the rest of the week.
Must be better. I will say, Eric, it seems like our introduction is catching on when I call you my everything. People seem to like that.
They do like that. We one of our voicemails, maybe we'll get to this one. They don't like the outro as much, but
yes. We will get to that voicemail. That's a really good one. Eric, why don't we start out, this is a non-traditional way, but let's just get to one voicemail right off the bat here.
Wow, okay.
This is Broncos Batman. I believe we can win out. Is it going to happen? Probably not. But there's always hope. Go Broncos.
Broncos Batman, thank you for leaving that voicemail. Appreciate that. Broncos can win out. He thinks not likely, but he brought it up. So,
that's true.
yeah.
Broncos Batman is maybe not the fan we deserve, but he's the fan we need.
Exactly. He, in the middle of the night, the night is darkest before the dawn. I believe that's from The Dark Knight.
Yeah. He Broncos Batman, he's either gonna die a hero or live long enough to see himself become a villain. I don't quite know what that means in this context. Maybe like you become a Chiefs fan or something.
Did Broncos Batman just merely adopt the dark?
Yes, he was not born in it.
He was not born in it. Okay, I didn't think he was.
Yeah.
But that's a top 5 voicemail for sure. Oh, were you doing a Bane impression? Take control of your city. That was terrible.
That's going to do well in the comments.
I could do better than that. Eric, let's start out with a little bit of football here. On Wednesday, as we're recording this, Drew Lock officially listed as a DNP, did not practice, although he had a helmet on. So he was clearly doing some stuff, but officially did not practice. So what do you think? He definitely took a beating against the Raiders. Took a lot of shots. There's one particular that sticks out to me where he just got blasted from the blind side, did not see it coming at all. Contrary to popular belief, I believe your ribs go all the way around. So if he took a shot in the back, you could still injure your ribs that way.
Is that a belief that your ribs don't go all the way around?
Some people just think your ribs are right here.
Got it.
That's a popular belief. Contrary to that, he got hit in the back. Yeah. Maybe that's when it happened.
It's possible. Do you want me to just give you all my Drew Lock thoughts now, or what specifically about?
That's what I was. Well, I'm just saying, one, do you think that he's going to get to game day? And two, should the Broncos even try to play him on game day? Maybe don't try to push it. And hey, the way things have been going, taking a week to just sort of recharge the batteries, maybe not the worst idea.
Yeah, here's what I'll say. If I were to guess, I would think he will not play this weekend.
Really?
Yeah.
That's the opposite of what I think.
Really?
I do think he's going to play, considering after the game he said, "You've got to drag my dead body off the field to get me out of the game." Not quoting word for word there, but that was the vibe.
I think everything we've heard from Vic Fangio is that there's several factors that are going to go into this decision. It's not just, is he healthy enough to play? It's, is he healthy enough to get these reps before the game so that he has a realistic chance to succeed in the game? Because if he doesn't practice all week and he's feeling fine Saturday and he goes out there and you put him up against a Miami defense that, Phil, I don't know if you saw the video on Twitter, but they're like coming up to the line, they're doing little
swarming.
Yeah. And then they're like, some of them are blitzing, some of them are not, and it's like a choreographed dance. You don't want to expose him to that if he isn't ready with your game plan mentally. And obviously, I trust Drew to take the mental reps and to get prepared, but some of that you do need. I think it's clear that on-field timing with guys like Jerry Jeudy and KJ Hamler and Tim Patrick. So I think the fact that we heard Vic Fangio mention several times that had to do with the equation. He is not a quarterback like when Peyton was here, or I know you like me to choose guys that are like Drew, but just around the league, veteran guys that could miss a couple days of practice and still be good to go. I think it's, if he doesn't practice Thursday in at least a limited basis, I would be even more surprised, of course, to see him go Sunday. All that said, Phil, I think Drew is going to push extremely hard to play, because I think there's somewhat of a narrative that he is injury prone, and with all the heat he has taken for not playing well, I don't think adding another game missed to injury probably helps his cause.
Eric, it's not a narrative. It is fact that he tends to get injured a lot. That's not just nobody just made that up. It's actually happening.
Well, I think a lot is an objective turn. And, he was ready to come back. The reason he missed so much time his first year was that the IR rules, he had to be out for 8 weeks. So we don't know if,
Yes.
he could have been ready a little bit earlier. We don't really know that for a fact. But here's also what I'll say is that I think in his development, you need to be able to play through these sorts of, I don't know what you want to call
Struggles.
them, speed bumps, potholes, like just bad stretches of play. You have to be able to play through that without taking a week off. We talked about it on Monday, I think. It's not the MLB or NBA where you sit out a game and it's okay and you get your head straight. In the NFL, you have to play to get through these things. And so Drew cannot become the type of guy where if he has 2 or 3 bad games in a row, it's like, well, Drew's got to just sit out a week or two to reset and then he'll come back better. That's not an option long term. And, I do still think that he can get there. And he does have the faith still of, we saw Noah Fant stick up for him on Twitter yesterday. Vic Fangio has continued to stand up for him. I've mentioned on this podcast, I think the right thing to do is let him play the rest of the year to see what you have and see if he can get through this and show at least signs that he's improving. I know there are people that don't like the Josh Allen comparison, but certainly at this point in Josh Allen's career, people were, you would have had the same reaction of, we got to find somebody else to be here because he was playing just as poorly, if not worse, on a consistent basis. So, I think that from Drew's perspective and from the team's perspective, you want him to play this weekend. It's not like you can't view this as a throwaway game or like, oh, whatever, 1 week doesn't matter. Let's just get him healthy. I think it's the right thing to do for him to try to play. I just am not sure if he's going to get there from maybe the preparation standpoint.
I think that I sort of have the feeling that he is. I think that he's really tough. First of all, I mean the hits that he took in the last game, the fact that he stayed out there. I think that he's tough. I think he's got that fiery personality, and I think that when you're struggling and you're a competitor, the last thing you want to do is miss time. I think that he's got that competitive spirit where he's like, I got to get back out there and prove these people wrong. And, for whatever reason, the narrative around him really affects him. I think that he doesn't like it when people boo. He doesn't like it when people say these bad things about him. I think other quarterbacks maybe block that stuff out. They don't pay attention to that. But Drew feeds off of that. It provides motivation for him. It's kind of like Michael Jordan in that sense. He took that personally. Eric, I would say that. That's a reference that you like. You like, hey, Michael Jordan, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady. But I'll say I think that he will get there. And I've been thinking about this obviously the last couple of days. It's been percolating inside here. I do think that Drew needs to play the rest of this year out. And I did think maybe initially, hey, we're not seeing the growth that we wanted. Maybe he's making a lot of similar mistakes, but I do feel like you can't rush to judgment like about a career right off the bat here. I do think that we need to be a little bit more patient with him. I think that based off some of the YouTube comments that we got on our last show, a lot of people are ready to write him off, ready to just say, nope, we're done with this guy. I think it's important to note that, and I mentioned this last show too, is that guys like Herbert, Tua, which we'll face this week, these guys, the book is not out on them. Defenses have not had a chance to say, this is how you attack this guy. And even Herbert did not have the greatest game last week. And we'll see what Vic Fangio is able to dial up this week for Tua. I got a nice little stat coming up here for 2 truths, 1 lie, Eric, that I think you might enjoy. But I think that there's more tape on Drew now. Defenses know how to attack him, and he's just got to figure out a way to work through this.
Yeah, and he's got the talent. We all know that. He's made the throws. He just has to get more comfortable and get back into it mentally, because right now he doesn't seem comfortable at times. And I go back to what I said last week. What are the alternatives? It's acquiring a veteran guy who's, probably not going to be an elite player that's going to compete with Drew at best, or it's drafting somebody in either the mid first round or second round again, where you're not going to get that top tier player. So to me, you've already invested in Drew. Let him play out this year, see what happens. If we get 7 more Raiders performances, and then I think maybe it's time to seriously evaluate other options. And I think you should probably improve your depth anyway at that position. But certainly the book shouldn't be out on him. And so one other reason for him to play this weekend is that Brett Rippon played pretty well against the Jets. He had those 2 fourth quarter interceptions, but he made some plays. I thought his understanding of where to go with the ball. I mean, certainly, I think he had that big play to Tim Patrick that was, they showed the same coverage that they did earlier in the game when they fooled him, and he figured it out and went back to that. If Drew doesn't play and Brett comes out and beats the Dolphins, that would be interesting, because then I don't know what it would be hard to then sit Brett back down again, especially if he plays well in that win against a really good Dolphins defense. I think it would be hard as a coaching staff to not say, we're going to give Brett another start this week. And so if you're Drew, I know they're really close friends. Brett has said that he understands his role in this team is to be Drew's backup and to support him in that way. So I don't think there's any kind of like jockeying to take Drew's job. But I do think, again, just the same way as you don't want the injury prone narrative to continue, if you're Drew, you want to keep your hold on this job. And part of the way you do that is to play.
And look, Brett Rippon, the Broncos had lost 3 consecutive games, and then he came in and won, albeit it was against the Jets. But he did come in and he did a nice job. He gave his playmakers a chance to make a play with the ball. And that would be disastrous for Drew personally, to have something like that happen, because then if Brett Rippon came in and started and won, there's no way you could go back to Drew. I mean, and that would be,
there's no way, but it would certainly be controversial, and it'd be something you would get on the next podcast and say, I'm not saying that Drew Lock should stay on the bench. I'm just saying that there are people out there.
Yeah. I actually have no thought of my own. I just regurgitate what I hear.
That's clear. And actually, it seems like your thoughts are basically you have them, and then the YouTube commenters yell at you, and then you kind of adapt based on those.
Well, I speak for the city. That's what I like to think, Eric. So
you kind of set the bar.
I'm a man of the people, and so when I like to listen, feel how the fans are feeling, and then I can go with the flow a little bit.
Yeah,
Eric,
how do you feel about vowels?
Vowels?
Yeah, you like them or no?
Yeah. Do I not use them?
Some people don't. No, you do, but some people not as big of a fan of vowels.
Oh, got it.
Yeah.
Got it. That kind of went over my head, but I feel like you were making a joke.
That's okay. It's between me and the listeners.
Got it. Sorry. Eric, you mentioned a voicemail that we heard earlier, or that we've listened to. You mentioned it earlier. Brought up a good point about Drew. Should we play it?
Sure.
I'm wondering what your thought is. You guys are the R's, and so maybe you've done more work on this, but really what the relationship is between a veteran wide receiver and a rookie quarterback, and how that might benefit them. Because I'm looking at, you guys mentioned comparisons between like a Justin Herbert, who's having a lot of success, but Justin Herbert has Keenan Allen.
That was a good point, Eric. I hadn't never really thought about that, but Cortland Sutton is certainly, a young player in this league, but when he got hurt, like he could help Drew Lock a little bit. And we even heard KJ Hamler this week say that he likes to talk to Lock and pick his brain about what each of them are seeing. And KJ is just a rookie, but maybe if he had a veteran guy on that offensive side of the ball, that could help him just approach things maybe a little bit differently.
Yeah. Cortland to me is a big loss, just because we know Drew targeted him again and again and again last year. And it was clear whenever you needed a big play, Drew could throw it to Cortland and Cortland would make that play. And, I think about maybe that deep end zone shot against the Falcons to Tim Patrick. Cortland Sutton probably catches that for a touchdown. I feel pretty comfortable in saying that. So from a playmaking standpoint, that's one thing. I'm not sure if it matters that it's a receiver necessarily, but I do think it's tough that a lot of these offensive pieces are young. You don't really have a veteran guy at all. I mean, DeMar Dotson we talked about him and how he came in at the last second kind of. And everybody is learning a new scheme together this year. And so it's not like you're at a place where just Justin Herbert is learning a new scheme or only Tua Tagovailoa is learning a new scheme. Everybody is learning it. And so you don't have some guy that can say, hey, here's what I would do in this situation, or this play works really well, or, this is what you should do when we face this blitz. That maybe that bank of experience isn't there. And then same from a leadership perspective, you don't have that older guy that can be like, hey, everybody calm down. We're going to be okay. We went 3 and out, but we're going to put a drive together here. You don't have that at any level of the offense, really. And so I think that has had an impact. And our caller is right. With the Chargers, you do have that. I think with the Dolphins, to some extent, you do have that. Certainly in Buffalo, you have some older players. And so I do think that could be hurting Drew, and another reason why you have to have some patience here.
I agree. I mean, it was a good point. That was our caller, I should mention. That's Harry from San Diego calling there. So thank you for the voicemail, Harry. Called us a couple of R's, Eric. Means that he listens to the show. I like that. I like when guys get our inside jokes. Yeah. But yes, I agree. Sometimes when in the course of a game, when things aren't going well, it's nice when you have a veteran who's just sort of a stud, like a guy who's like been there, done that at the top of his game, where he can just say, everybody calm down, like it's okay. We'll be able to weather this storm here. I do think it's nice to have that leadership, and they just don't have that on that side of the ball. And even the defense, like Kareem Jackson maybe is that guy, but even missing Von Miller on the defensive side of the ball, a guy like Jarrell Casey, they're missing that too on that side of the ball.
Yeah, I think Justin Simmons has become that. He is much more outgoing and talkative than he was as a rookie, certainly. I think of a guy, Phil, on the offensive side of the ball. Remember in 2016 when everyone was so concerned about would Trevor Siemian be able to handle the responsibilities of being the quarterback? Having CJ Anderson back there was storyline after storyline about CJ was helping Trevor kind of check to the right plays, or like, this blitz is coming, you got to know that's your hot route. And CJ, for the most part, kind of did that for Trevor to some extent when Trevor wasn't able to do that himself. And it was incredibly valuable. And with CJ, they went 5-2. And then CJ got hurt. I think it was against the Texans, maybe, that he suffered that injury. He missed the end of the season. He only played in 7 games that year. And the Broncos, of course, go from, I believe they started 6-2. So they won 1 more game without him. And then they ended up 9-7, obviously really struggling down the stretch. And I don't think, looking back at it, it's any stretch to say that CJ was a huge loss, because the offense all of a sudden went from putting up, 34, 29, 27 points to being in the teens. And so, you could see how valuable that was to Trevor Siemian. I think having a guy like that would have been equally as valuable to Drew. And the reason that maybe Melvin or Phillip don't count in that situation is that they haven't played in this offense. So they're learning it too.
That's a good comparison, because CJ Anderson, one of the smartest running backs you'll ever be around, obviously now part of the coaching staff there at Cal, his alma mater. So, yeah, I mean, that's a good point. Or you even think about like what Kyler Murray has in Arizona there. I mean, Larry Fitzgerald is probably as knowledgeable as it gets. And even though that's a new offense down there for them, just having a veteran presence like Larry Fitzgerald, a huge impact there. And then on the other side, he's got DeAndre Hopkins. You're talking about 2 of the, all-time greats at that position. So, I do feel bad at times where you just think about how young this offense is, how much pressure is on Drew Lock's shoulder to make these things happen. Sometimes, you need a veteran to help out.
And I think a running back or a center, are particularly helpful. Lloyd Cushenberry is a rookie, and he's going to get through some of these struggles, but he's a young player. And I think especially with what Drew has struggled with, Phil, it's identifying
Pre-snap.
Pressure, it's pre-snap, it's finding where to go quickly. Those sorts of things, if you had a veteran wide receiver, maybe that helps some, but having a veteran center or a veteran running back that knew the system, inside and out, or had a couple of years of experience running it, that to me would be more valuable.
And, when you diagnose some of that pressure coming, You got to know where your hot route is. You got to know
Yep.
where your safety, your outlet is. Get the ball over there, and then you can be safer. You don't have to take some of these shots. Maybe even having a wide receiver who can help with that too would be good. So Harry wasn't done. I didn't mean to cut him off there. He did have some more to say here, Eric.
Love what you did with the intro for the neutral zone this year. I thought that's great. And so I'm trying to get, what's the vision going forward for the outro? Because it's fun. It's an interesting outro. It's like you're trying to time the neutral, you've been listening to the neutral zone in the deep voice, trying to time it and say it together. And it's got the quirky vibes. So, you guys are nailing quirky vibes, and I love that, and I support that. And I just want to know, is that where we're going? I want to know what the vision is.
Yes, Harry, that is the vision. We're quirky. That is, the intro is fun. We got the players introducing the show. We got some fun music there. I start out by calling Eric my everything. That's fun. And then at the end, for years now, we've been timing up the neutral zone. Kind of wish that he would have said it, but I'll take what I can get.
I think that was a very nice way for him to say he hates it and that he really doesn't think very much of it.
No, he said he liked it.
Yeah, but the way he said it, he was like, I see what you're doing. Like, it's kind of quirky. You try to time it up. Like, what's the vision? To me, that suggests he wants something else. I will say, we're doing this over Zoom because we cannot be in the same room as each other currently due to COVID restrictions. We're doing the best we can to time it up. So, maybe there's a little bit of slack that could be cut there.
You think he doesn't like the harmonizing, like he's critical, not of the idea, but more of the actual execution.
Maybe the idea too. I think he thinks a lot of, all these players saying you've been listening to you're listening to the neutral zone. It sounds like maybe he doesn't think we put as much time and effort into the ending, which hurts me a little bit.
But he must be a fan of the show because he's getting to the end.
That's true. Yeah.
So,
thank you for that, Harry.
Yeah. Exactly.
But yeah,
Harry,
I guess if people have better ideas, let's hear them.
Yeah. If you want us to change it, one, it better be really good because I do like how we end it. But if you got an idea for how we should end the neutral zone, I'm all for it. Let's hear it.
Phil, this is like episode 114 or 115. We've been doing this for a while now. So to change it, it's going to have to be pretty significant.
Exactly. Let's get to something else that we've been doing for a while here, Eric, and that is 2 truths, 1 lie.
Well, I thought we were now calling it fact, and fiction.
Fact, and fiction. And one of the facts is with PH, right?
Yeah, because when you do 2 truths and a lie, it's often difficult to tell if 2 of them are actually true or if only one of them is true.
That's true.
Well, I don't think we've yet to have all 3 be false, but I think we're probably heading there at some point.
Pretty cool. The idea is that I read 3 statements, 2 are true, 1 is false. But
perfect.
I do the research personally, and sometimes it's not sound. Always, Eric. Okay, here's number 1. Vic Fangio, as a head coach or defensive coordinator, is 17-8 all time when facing rookie quarterbacks.
As a defensive coordinator or just all time?
Head coach and defensive coordinator. He's calling the plays, but as a head coach or a defensive coordinator, he is 17-8 all time going up against rookie quarterbacks.
Okay.
Speaking of rookie quarterbacks, Tua Tagovailoa, 3-0. He is the first Dolphins quarterback to start his career at 3-0. That's amazing. But that's not the stat.
I was about to say that.
Yeah, that's not the stat. He's thrown 5 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Eric, in college, he's 5 touchdowns, no interceptions. That's a fact. In college, he threw 87 touchdowns. 18 of them were to Jerry Jeudy.
Okay.
Obviously at Alabama.
Yes.
Tua, 87 touchdown passes, 3 years there at Tuscaloosa. 18 of those touchdown passes were to Jerry Jeudy. Okay. And then, of course, Eric. We're talking about Qs. We're talking Broncos. We're talking Dolphins. That means that we're talking John Elway and Dan Marino.
Love it.
They only played each other twice in the regular season, one time in the playoffs. That's it, which is crazy. You know, you think about all the times that Peyton Manning and Tom Brady faced each other. You know, every year they were playing each other. Dolphins, Broncos, both AFC teams. They only played each other twice in the regular season, which is crazy. Luckily for John Elway and the Broncos, John is 3-0 against Dan Marino.
I'm going to say, Phil, that the second one is false.
The second one?
Yeah.
No, that's true.
Are you sure?
I am true. I'm sure. Jerry Jeudy caught a lot of touchdown passes from a lot of different quarterbacks, including Jalen Hurts there. Only 18 of them came from Tua, though.
Okay.
You would have thought that was higher, though.
I just kind of assumed that all 26 of Jerry Jeudy's collegiate touchdowns were from Tua.
No, that's incorrect. Let's go back. Let's rewind here. The first one, Vic Fangio, as a head coach or defensive coordinator, he is 17-8 all-time versus rookie quarterbacks. As the head coach of the Broncos, earlier this year, he beat Justin Herbert. And then last season, he beat Lions quarterback David Blah. But he did lose to Gardner Minshew earlier in the year. So 17-8 is pretty good, though. That means he's dialing up some stuff here for these rookie quarterbacks. The lie was number 3, Eric. John Elway actually lost both regular season games against Dan Marino, one of the baddest dudes.
That's
ever
true.
to play in this
really
league.
a bad dude.
He's a bad dude. 1985 was their first meeting. That's when Dan, he was rocking and rolling then. Obviously, when he entered the league, he was rocking and rolling. The other time they played was in 1998, Eric. That's the season where the Broncos ripped off all those wins in a row. They lost to the Giants, though. That was their first loss in 98. The next week, they played the Dolphins. There was a big sense that they would see the Dolphins again in the playoffs. So Mike Shanahan wisely was like, let's not show them what we got here. Let's not game plan. Let's not scheme much. The Broncos ended up losing the game in the regular season, but then a few weeks later in the playoffs, they
toasted them.
They toasted the Dolphins. So that was fact, and fiction. I like that, Eric.
I like
officially changed it.
I like it too. I'm still researching just to see if your Judy thing is correct.
I looked that one up personally. It is 18. As a freshman, he caught 1 touchdown from Tua. As a sophomore, he caught 11 from Tua, and then as a junior, he caught 6. So of course, Tua, almost a year ago, I think last week is when he had that terrible hip injury.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah, that
missed a lot of time there to wrap up his career at Alabama. So glad to see Tua doing well now. So, and with that, Eric, why don't we get to my interview with Armandos Salguero from the Miami Herald? Spend some time. I think you're going to enjoy this conversation and talk a lot about, what's going on with the Dolphins, how things are changing with Brian Flores there. And then we ended it with a little bit of history, talked a little bit about Elway and Marino. Armando, thanks for taking some time to chat with us here today. Got to start by talking about Tua Tagovailoa. He seems like he's taken the league by storm. 3-0 as a starter, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions. Has he looked as advertised to you?
Well, he definitely has done what the Dolphins have asked him, Phil. He's definitely avoided, the big turnovers, the big mistakes. That's half the battle right there. If you are playing quarterback in the NFL and you're not hurting your team, that's helping your team. On top of that, knowing that he is a rookie and 5 touchdowns without an interception, his first 3 games, he's got a quarterback rating over 100. I think it's 104. Actually, it's 104.8 to be exact. That is definitely a great start for any quarterback, and definitely the Dolphins think for their quarterback.
These are 2 teams heading in opposite directions here. The Dolphins have won 5 consecutive games. The Broncos have lost 3 out of 4. Were you surprised that during this stretch, though, for the Dolphins, they made the quarterback change?
Well, it's interesting because you mentioned the 5 games in a row they've won. They had won 2 games in a row with Ryan Fitzpatrick as their quarterback, and then they announced the change to Tua Tagovailoa. And the timing of it was curious because previous to that, Fitzpatrick had struggled and the Dolphins had stuck with him. So it was almost like it was upside down. You're sticking with him when he's struggling, but you're, benching him when he's going good. I think ultimately the Dolphins recognize, look, it's time to start the clock on the future, and whichever way that goes, we're going to be fine with it. Fortunately for them, it's gone this direction.
It certainly has. What's the feeling around Miami right now? Because sitting at 6-3, right in the thick of things there in the AFC East.
Right. So if you ask me the feeling around the Dolphins, you're going to get it's a day-to-day thing, and we're not thinking about the future past the next minute, and there's nothing to see here. In the real world, with their fans in the community, suddenly, there's a little bit of football fever again. South Florida is a football area. For years and years and years, it's been that way. And now that the Dolphins are suggesting that they're going to be a playoff contender, certainly even a division contender, they're starting to catch fire. They're starting to get attention nationally. It's good times for Dolphins fans.
How has Brian Flores been able to change everything so quickly down there?
Yeah, it's happened quickly, and yet it was painful because last year they did an almost complete teardown, and they were 0-7 at one point. The first game that Brian Flores coached, if I'm not mistaken, he lost 56-10. So, and then the next week it was 49-0. So, improvement. Yeah.
Most definitely.
Yeah. So it was painful last year. They got rid of all of their veterans, or a large majority of them. They cleared out their salary cap. They won 5 of their final 9 games, and it suggested that they were headed in the right direction. But this offseason, they were very aggressive. They spent over $250 million on new free agents, $150 million of that guaranteed money. They had 11 draft picks, including 3 in the first round. And so when you have that much resources and that much in the draft and that much money to spend in free agency, you almost have to work at it to blow it. They didn't. Apparently, they fixed the offensive line a little bit. They've addressed the quarterback situation. They got arguably the best cornerback duo in the NFL, certainly the most expensive cornerback duo in the NFL with Xavier Howard and Byron Jones. So they've done a lot of things, and it helps that Brian Flores came from the New England Patriots. They signed a handful of New England Patriots. So those guys know how to win.
We haven't seen a lot of success from Bill Belichick disciples, but it seems like things are going well there for Flores. You mentioned that defense. They're taking the ball away a lot. I mean, they're swarming around. What have you seen on the defensive side of the ball?
It's interesting because they, as you know, they like to do the New England thing. They're going to do something different every week. Last week, it was to throw amoeba looks at rookie quarterback Justin Herbert. A couple of weeks before that, they zero coverage blitzed Jared Goff, and he was a little bit perplexed as to what to do. It was they work a lot at mixing coverages, mixing looks, making quarterbacks think pre-snap, and then pressuring them during the play. And it's worked. Look, they give up a lot of yardage. They've given up a lot of yardage. They certainly did against the Rams. They did some against the Chargers this week, but then they certainly did against Arizona. but they're scoring. They've scored defensive touchdowns in 2 of those games. They scored a special teams touchdown in one of those games and set up another score in another one of those games. So bend but don't break and always confused. That's what the Dolphins defense is about.
You mentioned how football crazy Miami is, South Florida there. You've covered the team for so long now. Whenever I think Dolphins, Broncos, I think Dan Marino, John Elway, but those two only played each other 3 times, once in the playoffs. It's crazy to think that, huh?
It's crazy. You know, the only memory I have of Marino and Elway is a game that they played in Mexico City. It was a preseason game. And the night before the game, they were at the Hard Rock. Everybody was at the Hard Rock. And everybody's drinking tequila. And I look over and there's Elway and there's Marino and they're drinking tequila. Hard Rock in Mexico City. And the next day they're playing in front of 106 million people in Mexico City at Estadio Azteca. So yeah, it's been a while. By the way, as you know, John Elway, I do believe he had some success in Miami, and it ushered him, out of his career.
Yeah, his final game down there, Super Bowl 33. Armando, I had one last thing I wanted to ask you about the book that you just wrote, 100 Things Dolphin Fans Should Know or Do Before They Die. What a cool idea for a book. Was that fun to write?
Yes, thanks for mentioning it, Phil.
Yeah.
No, it
Cool
was
idea.
it was fun to do. It was a year-long, basically, assignment. It covers, the 50-plus years of the Miami Dolphins, a franchise that was a fledgling franchise in 1966, before you were born, I'm sure. And so it was a work of passion for me, and it covers what you might guess, the perfect season, Don Shula, Dan Marino, Larry Zonka, all the way through to now Tua Tagovailoa.
Cool idea. I'm sure that Dolphins fans are really enjoying that. I love that idea. So, Armando, thank you so much for taking some time to chat today.
My pleasure, Phil.
My thanks to Armando Salguero of the Miami Herald, Hall of Fame voter, AP All-Pro voter. He's the guy to talk to down there. There's a lot of great reporters down in South Florida, but Armando, he is the guy. Great story he shared there about a preseason game with John Elway and Dan Marino hanging out in Mexico City, drinking tequila the night before a game.
Love it.
It's a preseason.
You do whatever you want.
Exactly. Eric, with that, let's get to our quarterback haircuts, our ranking here.
Yeah.
How should we do this? Do you want to do like top 3? Is that probably the best way? This is Broncos' best hair for quarterbacks.
Yeah. How far back are we going?
I think let's cut it off post Peyton Manning. Like Peyton Manning, not eligible for this.
Oh.
All the quarterbacks since then.
Okay. Wow. Jake Plummer just getting really screwed over here.
Well, Jake Plummer had some tremendous hair.
Yeah.
And so did John Elway back in the day.
Well, that's where I thought we were going. But no, okay, that's fine.
Well, let's say, how are we going to judge this quarterback hair? Because I have a couple of criteria here.
I know you do. Yeah.
I take this very seriously, Eric.
Yeah.
Priority number 1 is back of helmet flow.
Okay.
When you're actually playing in the game and you're running around, what's going on at the back of the helmet? Is it nice and neat? Are we talking about square, rounded, in the back, or are we talking about full on flow, which is what Elway had there when, in the late 80s, early 90s, had some quality flow back there. So did Jake Plummer. Then the other topic to me that is pretty crucial is when you get to the sideline and you take your helmet off and you're sitting there on the sideline and you're talking with the offensive coordinator, you're going over things on the Microsoft Surface. What does that hair look like post helmet? Very important.
That's it right there.
That's important to me. And then third, and maybe it's a distant third, what are you looking like in interviews when maybe you've just come off the field and you're doing that sideline interview. Maybe Tracy Wolfson is there. She's asking you some questions. Michelle Tafoya, asking you some questions. How does the hair look in that situation? Because a lot of people are watching. So
That's important too.
Yeah. So that's my criteria. What are you going with?
I think most importantly is you take the helmet off on the bench. What does it look like then?
That's most important.
Yeah, to me.
Okay.
Anybody can have their hair look pretty decent when you get up on the podium on a Wednesday.
Yeah. Although Justin Herbert struggled a little today.
Oh man, yeah, tough.
Feel bad
Tough.
for him.
Okay, I'll let you start as the king of hair.
Okay, number one, I would have to say is Joe Flacco.
Okay.
I mean, that thing was elite.
Yeah.
It still is elite.
Really
in New
good.
York, but that is like that to me is peak. That's what everybody's striving toward. The Joe Flacco.
Yeah.
Number two, I think I might have to go with Drew Lock.
Okay.
The Q he cares about his hair a lot.
He does.
I remember at the beginning of this year when, all the players go through the green screen, they do their, the thing where they like look up like this, for the intros for like, Sunday Night Football, for, CBS, they do these graphics. They're patting the ball a little bit. And I'll just say he was very concerned about how the hair looked, how that thing was flowing.
Right.
And he was maybe even suggesting that he should get a deal from his pomade company. Anybody who's talking in pomade, I like that. I like that kind of conversation. So,
right.
What's going on there? Number three, Eric, this is interesting. Number three, I might have to go with Trevor Siemian.
Wow.
Yeah.
Big for
I might have
Trev.
to go with Trev. Yeah. I might
Big
have to
for
go with
Trev.
Trevor Siemian. I was hesitating because I would say Brock Osweiler had some nice hair too.
Trevor, I think, struggled in that when he took his helmet off, wasn't great.
That is true. But he had grown it out at one point, and it was looking pretty good.
It looked nice at one point. Yeah.
Back of the helmet.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, he really let it
Yeah.
the lettuce, as they say.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I will say Brock, that was my toss-up. Brock has to be in consideration. Non-starters to me were Paxton Lynch. Mark Sanchez it was okay. It was okay. Mark Sanchez having a lot of success now in the media world, so obviously he's doing something right.
Right.
Who else? Who am I forgetting here?
I'll throw some other ones because I generally agree with your takes. I actually think Mark Sanchez has an argument for the number 3 position there.
Yeah.
Kyle Sloter, I don't think.
Yeah. I don't think that's a non-starter to me.
No.
Brett Rippon, not really doing anything.
No, sorry, Brett.
Jeff
Brandon
Driscoll,
Allen.
Brandon Allen.
Tough.
Yeah.
I do feel like we're forgetting who was the backup last year. We should know this.
That was Kyle Allen.
Brandon
Allen. I mean, sorry, not Kyle Allen.
Who is the backup before that?
Drew. Brandon Allen was Joe Flacco's backup.
Yeah, but there was a backup quarterback.
Oh, Kevin Hogan. That was
I feel like Kevin Hogan had some decent hair. Am I wrong?
Yep. Kevin Hogan, really a nice guy.
Yeah, I
enjoyed my conversations with Kevin Hogan.
It was a little shorter, but I think it worked. Worked generally.
Yeah. Now you can go short.
What about Garrett Grayson? You probably don't even know who that is.
He did not start a game for the Denver Broncos.
No, but neither did Mark Sanchez or Kevin Hogan.
That's true.
Kevin Hogan did not, I don't think.
I don't think so, no.
Yeah. So, I do agree with you, Flacco, far and away. On the field didn't work out so great, but the hair just so tremendous.
Yeah.
Drew's hair, I would say really good, maybe even better than Flacco when you're on the podium, when he has some time to prepare it.
Oh, yes.
But in game, I mean, Flacco would just rip that helmet off. It's perfect.
That's true. It was perfect. I don't know how he did that.
No.
Before he left, I should have really asked him, just been like, I'm just curious how, he could be my hair mentor. You know, we talked about maybe wide receivers mentoring Drew, helping him out. Joe really could have been my hair mentor.
I mean, Joe arguably has some of the best hair in the league.
Yes. Of course he did.
I mean, I think you got to go with probably Tom, right?
Well, long hair Tom or current Tom?
No, not long hair Tom. I don't like. I'm not
current Tom is right up there.
Yeah,
he's right up there.
Jimmy G.
Jimmy G's got good hair.
But he could have any. You know, he could have
those
no
eyes.
hair.
Those
yeah,
eyes.
exactly. No hair, but
see the hair.
That chin, those cheekbones.
Now, Eric, people might say that we're being ridiculous here, spending so much time talking about this, but
I would agree.
What would you buy into this? That as a quarterback, you're sort of like the face of the franchise, and you spend a lot of time on camera. You got to be presentable. You know, this is a thing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you want to look ridiculous, but I don't think if you are an unattractive person that you can't be a really good Q.
That's true. You could still be a good Q.
I mean,
but
no offense to him because it's not his fault, but Justin Herbert looks like he's my age, which is 12. And he's
you both are really exceeding your age.
Thank you.
Yeah.
He's out there dealing. So I think it's okay.
Sure. We're not bashing on him. You know, during this time of COVID, I mean, look, we're all struggling.
Yeah, your hair has been.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll post it. I mean, it's been tough at times.
And all you see is up front. If somehow you were to find out what was going on back here,
it's true. Like a little John Clayton situation.
Your opinion of me would completely change.
Yeah.
I'll say that.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Like best. John has some good hair.
John had great hair.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and then
he had some nice bangs when he first came out of Stanford. He had some really good bangs. Swooped them across.
Coach wise, probably since I've been here, I mean, I think probably Gary Kubiak has had the best hair. BJ didn't really have hair.
BJ didn't really have much. I
would
say all time, I would say Dan Reeves is definitely up for consideration. That thing was rock solid. And also Mike Shanahan. Mike Shanahan, took his appearance very seriously. I think you would have to go there too. The last thing I was actually hoping to ask you about here, Eric.
We don't really see Vic without a hat on ever.
That's true. He always has a hat on.
Yeah. I don't really.
There's a couple of times where he's
his headshot. He's got hair.
Yeah, not a full. It's not like
it's not Phil Milani, but
exactly. That's what I was going to say. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no Eric Dalala product going on. The last thing I was going to ask you about this, and then we can move on. Post game, after a game. Okay, they're doing the interview at the podium after the game. Do you prefer it when your quarterback has taken some time, showered, dressed into a suit, and then meets the media, or do you care where they walk in and they're wearing still their uniform and their hair is there's still a little bit of sweat going on, Yeah,
that's interesting. Drew's kind of the straight to the podium in the uniform type of guy.
He is.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but that was not Peyton.
No,
generally.
Peyton took some time, showered, and always suited.
Yeah. I feel like Trevor Siemian did the same thing. I think he would normally appear in a suit.
I believe he did.
I think Joe Flacco would do the same thing, if I'm remembering correctly.
I think Joe might have mixed it up once in a while.
I don't have a strong preference there. Maybe you defer to the Peyton Manning style. I don't know.
I do tend to favor the Manning style. I think the only other thing I would say is like maybe I prefer it if you're gonna get interviewed at your locker. Maybe you still have
stay in it. Yeah,
still have it. But,
I mean, you and we like to just get our content up as soon as possible for the fans. So the sooner is always better for us.
I remember one game. The Broncos played on a Sunday, and then they were going to play on Thursday night football that week. And we were waiting in the press conference room. And we're like, where's Peyton? What's he doing? What's going on? Where is he? We're waiting. And this is like, now we're talking about like maybe 90 minutes post game. Where is he? He had gone into the cold tub, already begun his recovery to get ready for Thursday night.
Love
But
it.
this was in 2013. It was very serious. That
Love it.
I was like, hey, we need our content. We need to give the people what we want.
Yeah.
They want.
What
So-
we want them to want.
Okay, let's continue with some more silly talk here, and we'll talk about head coach, coaching staff battle royale, because there were some reports on Wednesday that Joe Judge, the Giants head coach, got into a fight with their offensive line coach, but when I say fight, I mean actual fight. That was later disputed, maybe debunked. Not exactly sure. Regardless, that doesn't matter what happened there. What matters is that we were inspired, and we
Yes.
started thinking about the Broncos coaching staff and who the Broncos would submit in a battle royale.
Yeah, it's inspiration nation, I think, is
Correct.
more than anything.
Correct.
So I think you have to discount the strength staff right away, just because
Yeah,
I don't
you
think
can't
that's
put them-
fair.
Yeah. 'Cause there
Cedric
is-
Smith, for example,
Yes.
he could pick up my body with one hand and just crush my head.
Yes. They have to.
Very, very nice guy. He would never do that.
He
But
would never do that. No.
um,
I've seen him in the weight room. They often have to replace the bars after he's done squatting because they just bend in half.
exactly. He's a strong guy.
It's a problem, actually.
I mean, that's what you want in a strength coach, though. You want somebody that looks like that.
The budget, for these bars.
If your strength coach looks like Ben Swanson, you got a problem.
The artist? Ben Swanson?
Exactly.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
A. Yeah.
Ben Swanson takes one of his really long paintbrushes and uses it as a squat bar, and that's about all he can handle. Maybe he'll put an extra little dab of acrylic paint on each end.
Yeah.
I mean, any more than that, and
He frequently goes for long walks.
yes,
And as he does that, he does like the whole paintbrushes. So he's strength, kind of like an elderly lady holds like a 2-pound weight.
elderly person. I think we can say that.
Person, sorry.
Yeah.
An elderly gentleman, elderly lady.
Someone your age.
Exactly. He likes to do that, not the strength staff.
Okay, so back to the topic at hand. I think it depends, Phil. Are we talking currently or in their prime? Because
I think currently.
Okay, because to me that maybe disqualifies somebody like Bill Kolar, who we know has wrestled a bear.
Yes.
Very impressive. I think that would
That is
automatically.
a fact. That is
Yeah.
a fact.
Exactly. He's in the Senior Bowl Hall of Fame in Mobile, Alabama. I mean,
You
that's
don't
an accomplishment.
You think that they just give those out? No.
They don't.
No.
No. It's not. It's yeah.
You're fighting people for that.
You don't just get into Veets and you just don't get into the Hall of Fame.
No.
Do very prestigious honors. I do think, Kolar's had some surgeries here.
His back is not great.
Yeah, I think that would be tough.
But the mind. The mind is sharp.
Yeah, that's true. To me, maybe like a guy like Mike Munchak stands out.
Munch walks very slowly, though.
That's true.
He's had some surgeries.
So you think like maybe a Chris Cooper, who's young, just got out of the game,
That's true.
played offensive line.
He's still built.
I think because you got to consider who are other teams sending out here, Phil, and like the Titans.
Mike Vrabel is.
Yeah, exactly. As you would say, the Titans are sending out Mike Vrabel.
Yeah.
That's going to be tough. So you got somebody who can stand up to him. Maybe a Chris Cooper kind of stands out to me.
I think you immediately go to the Lions, because these are some big guys. They've played these positions often. So, yeah, I'd say Chris Cooper is definitely.
Like Ronaldo Hill is not that far removed from playing DB. He could be a nice choice too.
Yes, he could be a nice choice. A lot of times I would say these minds are very, they're not going to give up ever. You know what I mean? They can take some shots but they're mentally tough enough to be like, I'm still in this thing. So,
yeah.
But I would say Chris Cooper. Now, if it was just head coaches, how do you think Vic would fare amongst all the other head coaches? Because the reason I say that is the trend around the league the last couple of years has been young head coaches. Vic, though, has the benefit of coming from the defensive side, which I think makes you a little bit tougher naturally. So, and considering where Vic grew up and it's sort of a, blue collar, Pennsylvania small town there, I think Vic could probably hold his own for a little while.
Yeah, he's got some Italian blood in him.
Yeah.
That's always important. I think he told us that, I believe it was his introductory press conference. He said his 93-year-old mother, who I guess would be older now, obviously, was still out there shoveling her own sidewalk.
You know what? She's probably
95.
2 years older now. Yeah.
Well, I was kind of hedging in case something bad had happened.
Well, I haven't heard anything. So
I haven't either, but I was hedging a little bit.
Yeah.
But no,
I
think
prove your point. That would not be good for your point.
No, it wouldn't.
Yeah.
No, I think he's got the toughness kind of ingrained in him.
Yeah.
Do I think he would win? Like, I think Vic versus Mike Vrabel probably wouldn't go super well, but I mean, certainly in the there are coaches he could hold his own against. I'm taking Vic over Andy Reid.
For sure.
Yeah.
Andy Reid would not mind losing early, and then, as we know, he enjoys a cheeseburger.
True.
He'd probably be like, let's get over with this. I'm going to design some kind of crazy play, where the quarterback.
Yeah. He's like, I got to get back to work.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Other coaches he could beat.
What about like a Pete Carroll? He's like a senior, older guy. I'm not sure.
I think Vic would have a nice chance in that.
We did see Pete Carroll. He took off his shirt at the combine when DK Metcalf came in.
That's true.
You got to think about that. It looked like he's in pretty good shape.
Yeah, I think they probably
lose that weight though.
Age classes here, you know, just to keep things competitive and fair.
Yeah, because Vic, he got in shape this offseason.
He did. Yeah.
So, these are all factors. Would love for somebody to leave a voicemail and let us know what they think. 707 neutral. Eric. Eric, do you have a fill in the blank available, or?
I think that was more than enough silliness.
We've ran out of time.
Yeah, I think so.
I got it. Should we read some emails?
Yeah, that could be nice though.
Okay, let's read some emails. Maybe next week. Let's get to one that we just got today, right before we were recording. This is from our friend Honko from Cape Town. He says, hey, Eric and Phil, it looks like Drew Lock is carrying the world on his shoulders right now. It's taking its toll. I think he should stop overthinking things, just have fun, get back to basics last year. But he does admit it's easier said than done. He says, please give our Q a sanitized fist bump the next time you see him. Well, I've done that post game. I've given him a sanitized fist bump. So that's nice. He says, we can only go up from here. # beat the Dolphins. And he goes, P.S. Time to get your razor ready, Eric. The W is coming. I love it.
Yeah, Phil, I mean, I agree with Honko here. We appreciate the note. I do think Drew, is feeling some of that pressure. And I don't know that there's an easy way to get over that, but you have to. That's just part of playing this position. And hopefully, if he's healthy enough to play this weekend, we kind of see him at least take a step toward that.
Yes. It's more fun when you're dancing and, it's just exciting. And when you're rapping on the sideline, that means you're winning, you're playing well, you're loose. And I love it. So
I'll also say one thing with Drew. I think some of this would be easier for him to handle if last year didn't go as well. If maybe he had played exactly the same way, but maybe the Raiders complete that 2-point conversion, or you don't get that call against the Chargers and you go 2-3. The expectations maybe aren't as high and you can just develop. Whereas because they went 4-1, everybody was kind of like, Drew Lock is going to be the MVP. I mean, that Colin Cowherd said those words. It was not, and a lot of people were talking about the Broncos as a surprise playoff team. I wonder if Drew got caught up in that a little bit or felt like he had to match that. And if that's been part of because even if he comes back and he throws like 2 touchdowns, 1 interception in a loss,
I'd be happy.
Well, yeah, but I think there would still be a segment that's like, well, that's not what we expected. We expect Drew to throw 3 touchdowns. So I wonder if some of his struggles and the pressure that he feels are kind of a product of last year.
Yeah, possible. Let's get to another email here. This one's from David Gonzalez. He's writing in from Monterrey, Mexico. So Thank you for the email here, David. He says, I've been a diehard Bronco fan since I can remember, over 40 years. He mentions that he's 44 here. I think the media is being quite unfair with Drew Lock. He's a young QB surrounded by a very talented, but also very young team. Says this team has the potential to be great, but there's no other way to go around it. They require a lot of playing time, good coaching, and most of all, patience. He says Drew has shown more than once that he can make amazing throws. Unfortunately, bad decisions are gaining more attention. No other young QB is in the same situation, not even close. He mentions Herbert, Tua, Murray, even Burrow he brings up. So he thinks that it's a lot about the young offense. He says this is an odd year, with the pandemic, tons of injuries, etc. Whether you like it or not, it's taking a heavy toll on this young team. He thinks that Drew is great. He hopes that John Elway keeps building a stronger team around him. And he says that he enjoys the show. So go Broncos for life. David, thank you very much for that email.
Yeah, thanks, David. I agree mainly, Phil, that, there's a pandemic, there's tons of injuries. You didn't get the off season. I think all that's fair and maybe impacts the team to some degree, maybe even a large degree. But I do think, even if they get a whole off season, even if there's no pandemic, even if everybody's healthy, Drew still has to play better. I mean, that's just the fact. And I think he would acknowledge that even if you take out every single other variable, he hasn't played well enough. And listen, he doesn't need to play at an all pro level if everything is clicking, but he does need to play at a average level. And I think he would say that he's not doing that right now.
I agree. He knows. He said, hey, I know that it's not good enough out there right now. Got to work to get better. So our last email here, Eric, is from Adam from Hungary, a huge Broncos fan and a fan of the NZ as well. Adam, thank you very much for the email here. He says, I was so excited about the arrival of Pat Shurmur, but I'm disappointed now. In my opinion, his blocking scheme, his power blocking scheme, doesn't really fit the offensive line, doesn't fit Noah Fant. He says he thinks that they did better under a zone blocking scheme and had a more effective run game last year. So he's talking about different schemes here from Rich Scangarello last year to what Shurmur does right now. He says everybody keeps talking about patience, Eric, but he says the Broncos did not give patience to Scangarello. He says, keep doing a good job, guys. Go Broncos and be safe. Adam, thank you very much. Hopefully you're staying safe in Hungary. What do you think about that, Eric? It seemed like the Broncos wanted a more aggressive play caller, a more veteran play caller, brought in a guy like Pat Shurmur. And, Pat has had a lot of success in this league. He knows how to develop young quarterbacks. I think that's one of the reasons why they brought him in. But like the previous, I think it was David from
Monterrey.
David from Monterrey, Mexico. Like he said, you need to have patience. I think the same is true for the play caller too.
Yeah, and I don't think you ever. Well, obviously you didn't. You didn't anticipate there being a pandemic, which obviously impacts your ability to install plays and get the reps you need. Have that time to try all of that stuff out. And we heard Pat Shurmur at one point say, we don't have the luxury of like just using plays to see if we're good at certain things. We don't have that time in training camp. We've got to rep stuff that we know will work. So, I wonder if like short term, if Rich Scangarello's offense would have been more successful in year two, given that maybe Drew would have been more comfortable. You would have obviously kept a lot of the same players in that scheme. I do think that Pat Shurmur's system has led to more shots down the field at times, more big plays. The scoring average is up somewhat, but it's also up across the league. So it's hard to say how much of that is a result of the system versus just kind of the natural progression of the game. I do agree with Adam that I thought Noah Fant would be more involved. He has been at times, and other times he just hasn't been a factor. I think it's an interesting point. I don't think it does any favors to Drew or the offense if you say we're one and done with Shurmur either. And obviously Vic has backed Pat Shurmur every chance he has had so far. So no indication that will happen, but you're right. I do think just patience in general needs to be exercised. And we've heard John Elway talk about that before, Phil. It's hard when you change head coaches a lot to draft players because everybody fits a different scheme a little bit differently. And when you don't have that continuity, you're kind of just, it's like you're shopping for a recipe, but you don't know, are the ingredients going to be used for like a Thai style meal? Are they going to be used for Mexican dish? Are they going to be used for Italian? Is it going to be Greek food? So you're like buying these tomatoes, but you don't know how's a tomato going to be used.
Interesting. So a tomato is not just a tomato, right?
Exactly.
There's like a Roma tomato, there's a vine tomato, cherry tomato.
Exactly.
What kind of tomato do we need here?
Exactly.
Now I understand what's going on here. I'll say two things about this. I really enjoyed getting to know Rich Scangarello. I got to talk with him a lot, especially when we'd go out on the road. These guys do production meetings on the road. Had a chance to get to talk to him, every road game. I do think that he is a young, bright mind on the offensive side of the ball, and eventually will get another chance in this league. But I'll say this, I do think that when you're an offensive coordinator, you need to see things very similar way to your head coach. There's an enormous amount of pressure on Vic Fangio to win. And, we know how things are around the league where if you're not getting it done, boom, they pull the ripcord so fast nowadays. So you need to be on the same page. I don't know if he was always on the same page philosophy-wise with Vic Fangio. I think Pat Shurmur is a little bit more on the same page. And I think that when things are working with this offense right now, things happen easily. Sometimes we see at the beginning of these games some scripted plays. Guys are wide open often. And I do think that he's doing a good job with Drew. It's just that they didn't have the offseason. It's a weird year. And I do think consistency now is going to be more crucial. Especially with a young guy, you just need to have him be comfortable and get to know his staff a little bit. The one thing I will say, Eric, is that I agree with you with Noah Fant. It seems like to me, sometimes when you face other teams around the league, they know how to use their weapons a little bit better than the Broncos are right now, where a guy like Julio Jones, the Falcons are able to develop an entire game plan just based on the fact that you got a guy like Julio Jones and what that means for an opposing defense. The Broncos haven't quite gotten to that point with their weapons just yet, and maybe that just takes time.
Yeah.
So anyway, thanks to all of our emailers, all of the voicemails that we got, the YouTube commenters. We read all those, so really appreciate that. That's neutralzoneshow@gmail.com, or if you want to leave a voicemail, 707 neutral. Eric, let's quickly do some shout outs here before we say goodbye.
Yeah, Phil, I'll also shout out Bill Jacob, who I guess goes by Vito, and of course our friend John Jornad.
I'm sorry, I forgot a couple of emails.
That's okay. That's okay. I think we addressed many of those questions that they asked, but just wanted to give them some recognition for sending in an email as well.
John Jornad, that is your best friend.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's a big fan, favorite newscaster.
Yeah.
So just appreciate those people. And then, of course, Liz Manis doing some great work in the community.
Yes. What kind of things has she been doing in the community?
I think a lot of Zooms really has been kind of part of it. But I'm sure some other stuff as well, maybe.
We hosted a nice Zoom chat with the Wounded Warrior Project earlier this week, honoring veterans, part of the NFL's Salute to Service campaign. This year, the Broncos can't really get out and interact with people directly. So one way they're trying to do that is through Zooms. So Liz spends a lot of time on Zoom, but it does seem like the feedback that the organization is getting is that people really enjoy these connections that they're able to spend.
Yeah. And some other current initiatives going on. The Broncos, if you want to, on November 21st, which is this Saturday, you can drop off frozen turkeys and other things.
This Saturday.
Yeah. Thanksgiving food items for Denver Rescue Mission. In the past, we've been somewhat confused, but very clear. You can drop them off at UC Health Training Center. Frozen turkeys for Denver Rescue Mission.
What time should people come to do that, Eric?
From 10 a.m. to 2 p.m.
10 a.m. this Saturday.
Yeah. Then you can still get to your dentist appointment at 2:30,
2:30.
which is important.
Thank you. 2:30.
And then I believe Vitalant also needs blood currently.
Somebody say talent, because that's what we are.
Exactly. Yeah. They need talented blood. So yeah, if you're healthy and you're able to donate, that's another great way to help the community. So, Phil, I think right now, if people are struggling financially or with the economy the way it is, maybe you're not able to donate the same way you would in previous years. So definitely some other ways to do that. The Vitalant is doing their Drive for Life. It's the 23rd year, and October 23rd through January 3rd, you can make an appointment to donate.
Yeah. And you bring up a good point, donating turkeys. I think there's going to be a lot of people in need this year. So,
yeah.
If you can spare a turkey, swing by the Broncos facility and drop it off. It'll go to the Denver Rescue Mission. And
you're signing headshots, right, that you're passing out on Saturday?
Yeah, I'm not sure if I'll be there. I'm not sure if the Broncos could afford the security that would be necessary.
Right.
So, the fans, they get aggressive sometimes.
Right. So many of them.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of like K-pop star, very similar type of scene, So shout out to those guys. I did learn in my Wounded Warrior Zoom that Tim Patrick really likes bunt cakes. He called them bundle cakes. And then I was like, what is that? And then he showed me, and it was a bunt cake. So
maybe just likes bundles of bunt cakes or something like that.
That's true. Maybe that is possible. He did show that he had a huge box full of nothing bunt cakes.
Nothing bunt cakes. Nice.
That's a company that makes bunt cakes.
Oh, I didn't even know.
That's the actual name. Yeah. That's
good to know.
Yeah. Nothing bunt cakes. So not a sponsor, but if they wanted to be, could be. Tim Patrick could come on and read it too.
Let us know.
Yeah, exactly.
We're waiting. We really are. We're really waiting.
Please. All right. Let's wrap up this show. My thanks to Armando Salguero for taking some time to chat about all things Dolphins. We went over what's happening with the Broncos quarterback situation right now as we record on a Wednesday. Drew Lock status for the game up in the air. We talked about that a little bit. Then things got a little weird, Eric. A little bit strange. We talked about quarterback haircuts. We talked about coaches fighting, and pretty much a standard show for us.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I think it's time to sign off, which is our friend from Harry from San Diego.
This is for Harry.
Yeah, this is for you, Harry. We'll be back on Monday, post-game, wrapping up whatever happens in this Dolphins game. But until then, for Eric Dalala, I'm Phil Milani. You've been listening to
The Neutral Zone.